The Oklahoma Sooners have an intriguing recruiting thing happening with Jaden O'Neal. Also, some big-time recruiting happenings across Sooner Nation. Let's discuss coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks again for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Make sure you hit that subscribe button over on YouTube to get daily Oklahoma Sooners content. Jaden O'Neal is off on the recruiting trail visiting Florida State and Auburn this week.
Yeah, it's we're not used to this. Oklahoma quarterback going out there doing a whole bunch of visits or commit. When Jaden O'Neal initially committed, the thought process, and it sounds like the message was he was going to be the only one. Well, Oklahoma now realizes we need a second one, especially bringing in a new offensive coordinator, and Jaden did commit under Seth Luttrell, so he's going out there to just see, make sure his options are open. He wants to make sure that he doesn't get, put on the back burner, or if he kind of get left out. So there's a lot of schools that have interest in him, so he's Florida State. He's going to visit Auburn, so he gets to go hang out with former Sooner commit Kevin Sperry. It feels like Kevin Sperry just can't get away from him, can he? It's like no matter what Kevin does, Jaden's always looming over. The shadow is always over him. But then he's going to go to Auburn. So, he'll see Jackson Arnold and be able to check them out. But as of now, I still feel like Jaden is still going to end up being a Sooner. The big thing that he's even mentioned in interviews is, just make sure the relationship remains strong and everything. And Ben Arbuckle's still cutting his teeth here in Oklahoma. But I don't think that he has any fear whatsoever when it comes to Bowe Bentley. I think the big thing is does Oklahoma want to really take two quarterbacks, or are they wanting to pivot to someone else?
Yeah, that seems to be the question. And, Jaden's got interest across the country, Georgia, Colorado. I mean, big-time programs that are looking at adding him. And so it's understandable why he might want to explore those. But it does show a little bit different kind of pursuit or recruitment revolving the Oklahoma Sooners. I mean, Brent Venables, he's been adamant about this no-visit policy in years past, but perhaps it's evolving a little bit more where we're seeing guys that are committed actually go take visits elsewhere, and it's not leading to an imminent decommitment. You know what I mean? I feel like in years past, if somebody went and did a visit, even with the coach's understanding, typically within a week or two, it was like, okay, we're decommitting kind of a thing. But it seems like this is just going to be one of those ongoing processes where he might take several more visits across the rest of the recruiting cycle before we figure out exactly what's going to happen. The Bowe Bentley piece is interesting. Every offensive coordinator is going to have their own vision for what they want at quarterback, and Jaden may fit that still. At the same time, Ben Arbuckle is going to have an idea of what he wants at quarterback as well. That's why he brought in Jet New. That's why he brought in John Mateer. That's why he brought in Cole Gonzalez. Like, he retooled kind of with his vision in mind at quarterback. And that's not to say that Jaden doesn't fit it. It just also means that Bowe Bentley's probably a guy that Ben Arbuckle's had his eye on for quite some time. And now that he is at a big time program like Oklahoma, has an opportunity to kind of call his shot at quarterback, as opposed to when you're at Western Kentucky and Washington State. You don't get to do that. When you're at a blue blood program, you get to go be a little bit more picky. You can go pick the guy that you want. And so he's getting that opportunity kind of for the first time. So very intriguing there. Some other recruiting nuggets that are happening right now. One, Deuce Gerald's going to be visiting the Oklahoma Sooners, the defensive lineman in the 2026 class. Tell us a little bit more about that, Jay.
Yeah, Oklahoma has been in a really good spot of her with Deuce Gerald's the big defensive lineman that I would really like Oklahoma to get their hands on. And he's spent a lot of time in Oklahoma. He's actually now in town this weekend for practice, and you're going to start seeing that a lot. A lot of these kids are taking these additional, unofficial visits, going to come out, hang out, watch practice or whatnot. You saw some other young players came through. I think it's Cameron Phillips. He was here over the last couple of days watching practice. So Oklahoma is starting to take advantage of, getting some of these kids to come out if they're truly interested. And it sounds like OU has a good shot. He is a top 5 D lineman in the country, number 1 on ESPN as well as Rivals right now. So he is as of right now with Rivals, he would be considered a 5-star since he's number 25 in the country at roughly 6'1", 275. I think he's a lot bigger than that, but these are the initial measurements that a lot of these schools have. But hey, Todd Bates has been working, and he's out of Georgia. So that means that Bates is really trying to go back to his roots from his Clemson days to start to bring those players in. And I had made mention of this a while ago that a lot of fans have been curious about why Oklahoma hasn't been recruiting at the level that Clemson did when BV was there, especially on defense. And I had to remind some folks that it took about 3 years for Clemson to start really pulling the big name players, especially out of Georgia and out of even the Carolinas, out of Florida, even out of Texas. It took them about 3 years to really start to build that pipeline because they kind of had to prove themselves on the field. Well, R. Mason Thomas and the way that defensive line played last year and that run defense kind of proved a lot of folks that, you still got it, huh? I mean, I know your coaches are young, but you still got it. So now you're starting to see that interest from some of the bigger spots. Like I said, in Georgia with a player like a Deuce Gerald. You get him on campus a lot. I mean, I think he's visited a lot. Every time I look up, he's in town and he's come to hang out. So if you get him to go ahead and commit, you've got a few other players that are really, really interested. I think Oklahoma has a really good chance of having a big time, a big defensive haul this year, especially because now Deuce Gerald has Oklahoma in his top 10. And then right after that announcement, he's coming back to town.
Yeah, Brandon Drum of OU Insider and Rivals has kind of been on top of this for a long time, but it seems like Oklahoma is really, really well positioned to land Deuce Gerald. So things really trending in a positive direction there. Another place that they're trending in a positive direction, that's Aljour Miles. We discussed him earlier this week, but Mike Roach of 247 Sports issued a crystal ball, I think on Thursday, favoring the Oklahoma Sooners in Miles' recruitment. All signs seem to be pointing toward Oklahoma at this point.
Yeah, and even, with Aljour Miles, if you get Mike Roach, who used to do Texas writing, now he's doing more national stuff, you probably are doing something if he's throwing it in Oklahoma's direction. He doesn't do that very often. Not to say that he does it as a quote-unquote hater or anything, not saying that at all whatsoever. He does his research, and he actually does a really good job of keeping up with trends and what makes sense, and he actually talks to people. People talk to him a lot. And so if you're starting to see, those type of trends, probably most people will talk to him about Texas, but if you see that Oklahoma is one that, it's on that list of schools, yeah, definitely feels like that one's strong, but that's like the 4th or 5th one now. So I'm expecting Miles to give us a commitment probably within the next month, or he'll probably drop it around one of the official visit weekends, but I'm expecting Miles to be in the class.
This kid's game is really good. He's got good size, good strength. He's a great player after the catch. He can do everything you want a wide receiver to be able to do. 4-star currently for On3 and for Rivals, I believe. So big-time playmaker coming out of Kaufman, Texas, trending towards the Oklahoma Sooners. We'll continue to follow his recruitment, that of Jaden O'Neal's and Deuce Gerald's here on Locked On Sooners. So make sure you're tuned in and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're free and available on all podcast platforms. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Follow Jay at Unfair Sports. Go check out his channel, Unfair Sports, over on YouTube as well. You can follow me at John 9 Williams and read my work covering the Sooners over at SoonersWire.com. You can follow the show at Locked On Sooners on all of your favorite social media platforms. But until next time, he's Jay Smith. I'm John Williams. We'll talk to you then. Boomer.
Sooner.
Have a wonderful weekend.
Have a great one, guys. And stay warm.
Yeah, and dry.
And dry.